Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 27. This is so exciting and just a time for our movement and for our organization. We have so many exciting things happening behind the scenes right now. We just had an incredible weekend Zoom session where we had some amazing leaders from all over the world step up to be a part and join hands with us and causing beautiful things in this world. And I'm really excited. You're going to hear a lot more about that in the near future, and I'll be sharing more about a bunch of exciting announcements. But welcome, though. Welcome to One Day Today. I'm really excited to have both our guests with us. I've been meeting the most amazing people since we've started this virtual stage, and it's there's something about just the. I mean, COVID opened up a lot for us as a civilization, as a society. And I feel people are people are observing others' pain, and they're really recognizing it. And I see people sharing their stories and their experiences of their life is really like cause an opening for people to see humanity in others, and it's just such a beautiful thing. And I feel I'm so grateful to just have this space where people are able to share themselves and connect people, connect communities and build bridges. And it's such a beautiful, exciting time for us. And I welcome you for being with us today. Let me say hello to Matthew, our co-host. How's it going, Matthew?
Doing good, man. How about yourself?
I am fantastic. I'm on cloud nine right now. Been floating all
Yeah,
weekend, so I'm feeling really good, and I'm really excited about what's to come. But not a complaint in the world.
huge things are afoot. Just a little teaser for you guys. We're not going to say much right
This is
now, but
true. Just
things are definitely happening.
It's very exciting. I I'm just gonna go ahead and just introduce our first guest. I'm really excited. She's a beautiful soul. I'm gonna let her speak for herself and share her story. But I want to welcome Nadine Joy. Hi, Nadine. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Abram. Thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure and honor to be here and a part of this movement. I'm so very excited to be a part of all of the changes happening in our world and in our society. And just wanted to share a little bit with your viewers and all listening today a little bit more from my heart and my journey and where I've been and how I've gotten to where I am and the things that I've had to overcome to get there. There's been many things that I've gone through in my life that really made me who I am today and made me really realize, it's about the little things in life sometimes that we sometimes get busy. And I know with COVID and all these things that have been happening in the world, it allowed us to take this time to step back, to really look at our priorities, look at our life, and look at the things that truly matter. And I recognized like that it's an importance of human connection right now, really being able to connect with others and speak from our heart. That's just one thing that I've noticed with people is just being able to connect with others authentically and vulnerably. So I'm going to tell you some stories today, a little bit about myself. So I'm a speaker. I was a geologist for almost a decade. About 12 years ago, I worked in oil and gas. I worked my way to the top of the corporate ladder. And long story short, I ended up getting extremely sick and almost dying from not living my truth, following what society, what other people were guiding me to, looking at worth, almost like the worth of myself, that was being validated through external experiences, like letters after your name, your position in society, all of these things that I was looking at outside of myself externally. And what I recognized when I had gotten really sick, that it wasn't about that. And I had felt a void when I was working for so long, and I couldn't quite understand that. And it wasn't until I got sick that I recognized, I can remember being as young as 4 years old and just really wanting to help people. Like from the bottom of my blood, I would do anything. I would go out of the way to help people, to say hi to them, to talk to them, just to bring joy and hope into their lives. And I think this is something that I recognized in my own life. And I was so busy. I was literally a workaholic. I would work. I was on call all the time. And I didn't recognize this until I was forced to slow down, and I was forced to take this step back that allowed me to reflect on my life and like where I had been going, and the path that I had chosen wasn't necessarily the path that was right from my heart. And I was sick for 1.5 years. You know, doctors couldn't help me. Everything came back normal. Nobody could. I was in the hospital all the time. And basically, long story short, I remember laying on the bathroom floor thinking one day that I was, you know what, I'm not going to make it. This is my last day here on earth. I have nothing left to give. I had no energy. I was depleted, and I just said, this, you know, this is going to be my last day. And then all of a sudden I had this, and I know a lot of people here can relate to this, almost like this like light bulb moment that goes off, like a switch that is turned all of a sudden. And it was for me. I said, you know what? You can do this, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do whatever it takes to be able to get past this, to help other people, because this is why you're here. This is why you were put on earth. Your mission, your purpose here on earth is to help people and to bring joy and bring hope and bring purpose to other people's lives. And it was at that time I started recognizing, you know, the beliefs of, you know, the most common belief in the world, self-limiting belief, is I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. And those were two that I had to go into really deeply to be able to move past this debilitating illness that I had, that I couldn't shake, and it ended up being an emotional connection. So I just wanted to bring awareness around the importance of our mental health, our belief systems, you know, things from our childhood traumas, things that we've gone through, and how important it is to really recognize those links in how we show up today in the world. Whether we're, you know, it doesn't matter, we're all leaders, no matter what we do. We don't have to be a CEO of a company to be able to positively impact lives. You know, we can be a mom or a dad or a friend or anybody, really. If you have the ability to impact others, we are a leader. And it's being able to recognize these times in our life and being able to share from our heart, you know, what we've gone through and how we got to where we are, and being able to really recognize that, I think is very powerful. And when we have hope, so I found when we have hope and we have purpose, there's a leadership and mental health expert out of Toronto here in Canada that was mentioning, you know, the mental health and things that he's dealt with. And it was basically the number one thing that brings hope to people's lives when they're in a really dark place, or when they're in, you know, for example, when I was really sick, I thought it was my last day here on earth, is purpose, right? It's having a purpose. And whether you have, you know, a purpose for your life, a purpose for the day. So what I like to do in my own life is start the morning in meditation, in prayer, just in reflection, really going inwards to just pray and listen for what my purpose is for that day. And I just wanted to extend that out to everybody listening, the importance of, you know, having a purpose for your day. It doesn't have to be a big purpose. It doesn't have to be impacting millions of people. But when we choose to consciously align ourselves with our truth, whether it's through our businesses, whether it's through our relationships with others, co-workers, friends, you know, it's so important to align with your truth and who you really are, and be authentic, be real. Let people in to who you are, and let them know more about you, because that's what creates relationship and connection with other people. And that's what's missing in our society, is this ability to really go in deeper and go in to really honor ourselves and who we are. And I'm a true testimony of this, because I didn't honor myself for so long. I repressed that, and it wasn't until I got sick that it allowed me to really step into who I really was and allow my gifts to shine through, recognizing that, you know, we all are unique. We all have gifts. There's no need for competition. There's no need for pedestals. There's no need to compare ourselves with others, because we are truly all one. We are all connected through love. We are all connected to one another, and it's all about supporting one another, right? Supporting each other, lifting each other up, encouraging one another, bringing this hope and joy and peace and purpose into one another's lives. And even if I know there's people I've reached out, and listening to yourself, honoring your intuition that you have. There's many people over the course of my lifetime that I didn't know, but I woke up and I would see their name, whether it was on Facebook or social media or even on TV. And I just heard this guidance, you know, you need to reach out to this person. And at first, like, I was kind of second guessing myself. You know, I don't know them, and I was very hesitant. But, you know, one day I said, you know what, I'm just going to listen. I'm going to be obedient and listen to the voices, listen to God, what he's telling me, what I need to do in my life. I reached out to them, and the very first person I reached out to emailed me back saying, wow, I can't believe you reached out to me at this time, because I was just praying that somebody would help me. And they literally told me later on, I'm still friends with this person to this day, that they would not be here today if it wouldn't have been for me reaching out to them. So I just want to encourage everybody here listening to just really trust themselves, trust your intuition, trust what you have inside of you, and take action on it. Don't wait. Like, I just think of, like, what would have happened if I hadn't have reached out to that person? She probably wouldn't have been here today. And that's, to me, that's just, that just breaks my heart, and it makes everything worthwhile, what we're doing, what this movement is doing, or, you know, just reaching out to one person at a time. You don't have to reach out to millions, but reaching out to one person at a time, just to make that difference in their lives. Bring that light, shed your love, allow your presence, your authenticity, your love to just shine through into others, and allow them to be transformed through the experience that they have just by seeing you, just by being in your presence. I have a story. I have 4 kids, and the other day we were driving, and my youngest daughter had the window rolled down, and she's looking out the window, and my girls, I have 2 girls, 9 and 5, and they always like to yell out the window, and they like to yell at people on the street, and they like to play this game of how many highs can I get, or waves from people out our window. They've done this for years. But it was so interesting the other day. She looked out the window, and there's somebody right beside her with the window open, and she literally said hi, and she had a conversation with this lady beside her, and she noted. And it was just surprising to me to see, you don't have to be old or a certain age or a certain, you know, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what your background is, what your religion is, whether you're 4 years old or you're 94 years old. You have this ability to create impact in people's lives. And the smile on this lady's face that was in the car beside us, just from my daughter, they literally had a conversation while we were stopped at the stoplight the other day. And it was just fascinating to see the difference in that. Another story I have is about, I was on CBC with a 98-year-old photographer who had, so I'd written a book called Uncover Your Purpose, and we were talking about our purpose. And she was saying she was a realtor for her entire life. And it wasn't until she was 94 years old. So I want to give you a contrast from my daughter, who's 5, to this lady who was 95, 94, I forget exactly, years old, and decided at that time she didn't really like being a realtor, and she's always wanted to be a photographer. So she went back to take photography school, and she ended up being, you know, one of the most prolific photographers in the province where we are today. And her work has been featured in so many different outlets. And to me, it was just fascinating to see how, you know, somebody at that age could go back and do that. And it just goes to show you, you know, anything and everything is possible, and to expect the unexpected in life. Because when you wake up every day, this is what I do every day, and I tell my clients that I have all over the world right now, just, you know, wake up with the sense of an adventure. You know, what adventures are awaiting? What are some things that are going to happen? And just be open to whatever that is, staying open to receive whatever, you know, God, the universe brings into your life for that day. And you will be absolutely dumbfounded by the amazing things that come in when you stay open, and the things and the people that you get to connect with, and the opportunities that come into your life, simply because you are open to receiving that, open to helping, open to serving others, to making that difference and connecting with others from our heart. So I just want to leave you with this. So it doesn't mean that you need to, you know, make a big, huge difference in millions of people's lives. I just encourage you to do something today, even as you get off this call. If you're listening to this, know you're here for a reason. and know that there's more that you can do to make this positive difference in the lives of so many other people, whether it's, opening a door for somebody, whether it's, smiling or waving, or whether you're just calling somebody or reaching out to somebody that you don't even know, simply because you were guided to and you followed your intuition. I encourage you to take these little steps forward and continue to follow your heart and live your life with meaningful purpose. Because when we have joy and hope and love and peace and purpose in our life, it's like the butterfly effect. Everybody who's in your presence will feel it and will make a difference. So I'm gonna leave with one last thought here. I heard this saying once, that every person that you positively impact in the world, you have the potential to impact a minimum of 5,000 people over the course of their lifetime. So to me, that is just absolutely fascinating. So it's not really about helping one person, because the one person that you've shed light on, that you've shared your love with your joy, is now being spread out to the people when they go to the grocery store, when they go home to their kids, when they end up going out for coffee with a friend. This is extended out to everybody, all of their interactions that they have. So if you think about that, even 10 people, that's 500,000 people over the course of their lifetime, even just if you help 10 people, and that's phenomenal. So I just wanted to put that into perspective for every one of you listening, how important it is. It doesn't have to be something big. It's the small things in life that really make a phenomenal difference in the lives of so many people. So I thank you. I thank you for being here today. I thank you. And I want each and every one of you to really honor yourself, honor who you are, honor your gifts, and know that it's okay to be different. So for me, the biggest thing I felt, like I mentioned, when I was 4 years old, I knew I was meant to help people. I knew I was meant to make a difference. I always felt very connected to God, to people. I always seemed to kind of have this strong intuition about others, but I felt different. I felt like I didn't fit in. I felt like nobody talked to me about it. Nobody really understood what I was going through. And I repressed that, because as a society, as an individual, one of the greatest basic needs of ours is to truly just want to fit in and to have a sense of community and a sense of belongingness. And I think it's so important as we move forward to move towards this, towards reaching out to others, supporting others in this belongingness, and know that your differences that you have, the differences that you feel, are not bad. And that's one thing it took me, again, getting sick, to realize that the differences that I had, I thought I'm bad because I'm not like everybody else. But I'm telling you, if you are different, if you feel different in any way, you were born to be different. You were not born to be like everybody else out there, because you have a greater mission. You have a greater purpose in life. The people around, it's not you that's different. It's the people around you that you're surrounding yourself with just don't see to the level of what you see and the big vision that you have. So know and keep honoring yourself, keep standing in your purpose, in your mission, and know and honor those differences that you have. It's because when we honor those differences, we really do have, so much more that we can offer, not only in ourselves and our lives, but in the lives of others all over the world, no matter where we're from. And I thank you so much for being here today and listening. I just want to say, I wrote a book called Uncover Your Purpose, Heal and Share Your Gifts with the World, which was about my journey of, going through being a geologist and starting over, helping others in the world. And a little bit on my book, I didn't even want to write a book. I never saw myself as being an author. So for those of you, I know there's a lot of people since COVID, since this has happened, who are really, you all have a story to share. You all have a story to share with others. And I encourage you to share that story as much as you can, because it is through sharing our stories that we really allow the transformation and the healing and the hope. And your story might inspire somebody to recognize and understand that they're not alone. They're not alone. They might think what I'm going through is, I'm the only one. But when they hear your story, it gives them hope, and it sheds light for them to know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. If I can do this, you can do this too. So just honoring your story, and know that you can write a book. I never wanted to write a book, but it was one of those things I kept hearing. It's not about me. It's not about us as individuals. It's about all the people out there who need to hear our message, who need to hear our voice, who need to hear us speaking from our heart to make a difference in the world and really allow our true selves to shine. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing, Nadine. I appreciate your whole journey and you sharing, everything that you've been through to be here now and to be in a place where you're contributing to us all. I love that you brought up like the butterfly effect, and it's like, and I feel like I'm guilty of that. I feel we all do this where we forget how much power we actually all have in every action we take or don't take, every smile we make, every handshake we extend, every fist we extend, every promise we make or break. It changes the course of the universe. And I love that you're saying, you go, if you affect one person in just one moment over the course of life, over the course of their life, that will ricochet to 5,000 other people. And it's like, and I think that's beautiful because like what's possible when we all show up in that space and we all recognize our own power, that we can contribute to beauty, but also toxicity. We both have that. We can to all of our environment, to our physical environment, to our environment, to our emotional, to our psychological, to our spiritual environment. And I think that's a very important point. And I'm curious, where did you recognize that for yourself? Where did you recognize your own power in the present moment?
Yeah, there's probably been many moments that I've seen that. Like there's just many moments that I've recognized sometimes in, the words that would come through me, for example, when I would follow my intuition, that I people would say, "Oh, can you say that again?" I can't. I don't even know what I just said. It was some things that just flowed through me, and it was sometimes in 30 seconds that the words that I had spoken to somebody changed their life. And it wasn't something where you sat down and had, the 4-hour conversation with them. It was literally, a moment. It takes a moment, an instantaneous moment in time to change somebody's trajectory forever. And that's what the power we have through our words, that's where I recognized in my own life was, somebody who, I think it was somebody in business that their business wasn't doing very well. And I think there was something that came up, why don't you do this? And there was something that came up that I never thought about that. And he started doing that. And all of a sudden his business just took off. And it was literally from one sentence that was said that changed his business trajectory in a completely new path, a completely new direction that allowed him to not only honor himself and his gifts that he had, but allowed his business to also shine and to help so many more people in the world. So yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's something that, we do downplay a lot, is the power that each one of us has to influence others, right? To really make that difference in their lives and allow them to shine and connect, like the butterfly effect that you just mentioned. I know in my own life, it's interesting. Just the other day, I had somebody reach out, and I was on a conversation. I think it was a networking event, and they reached out saying, "I got to connect with you." And this is the importance of, I think, connecting. Even how I got to meet you. Actually, this is a story about that. I had to go through 3 or 4 different connections in order for somebody to say, "You need to meet Abram. You need to meet this one. You need to be a part of this." And it was because of reaching out, following my intuition in the beginning, to even reach out to that first person and allow the connections to continue to build, that I'm here today. So that's a perfect example right there.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a couple of things you said there that I'd like to draw out on. If we don't have too much more time before we have to bring our next guest on, but if you could briefly clarify 2 things. So one, like you mentioned that you got sick, and it wasn't until it was really bad that you had that realization, that realization that I'm going to have a purpose. This is going to work out. How bad was it really? And then how soon after you got that realization, after that kind of moment of aha, did you actually start feeling physically better? Like how fast was the recovery? Because you seem pretty well now. You seem pretty well off. And the other thing, if you wouldn't mind taking a second and just kind of speaking to, is that really that experience of the healing happens almost instinctively. Like that's something that I've had quite a bit of experience with myself. Where I'll be doing a bodywork session with somebody, and 99% of the 2 hours I spend with them is all theatrics. And the real healing only happened in like one brief instant where our heartbeats actually synced up for just that one heartbeat. And it was just like, that was when everything let go. So if you could just take like a couple of minutes and just speak to those two things, I think I'd really appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah. So to answer your first question, the rock bottom, I like to call it like the rock bottom moment, because being a geologist, I've kind of, and that's literally what it was. It was my worst rock bottom moment. But now looking back on it, it was by far outweighed, the greatest blessing that ever happened in my life, because it allowed me to bring truth back into my world. And so you asked about how far was that. So in that moment, I was actually laying on my bathroom floor, and I'm not kidding you, because I had no energy. I was throwing up. Like, it was literally every 2 seconds. I couldn't even take a sip of water without throwing up. So I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to lay on the bathroom floor, because I'm going to have to be back here anyways in another 30 seconds. So I was laying on the bathroom floor, and that was it was literally within just about 10 seconds that I remember having this wave of inspiration. And all of a sudden, it was almost like energy, almost like, in a way, like the presence of God that just really washed over me, saying, you can do this, you can figure it out, and you need to get up and you need to dust your, you put your big girl pants back on and figure this out, because you're going to figure this out. And once you do, it was in that moment I heard that I'm going to be learning something that I'm going to be able to help so many other people do the exact same thing, to help them heal on a greater level. So that from that journey forward, I ended up trying, honestly, everything out there. I was in the medical system that couldn't help me, and there's nothing against the medical system, but I'm just saying it from my perspective and my journey. I ended up going through naturopathic doctors. I got certified in Reiki. Like, I tried all the energetic modalities. I tried all of these different things, and went to probably 10 different counselors, 10 different psychologists, various people across, different types of fields. Tried Bowen, like, I literally tried everything out there. So I basically found that there was certain techniques that worked better than others, and some of them that I found didn't necessarily work for me. And everything works different for everybody that's out there, but this is my own experience once again. And I just basically got to the point that I recognized that it wasn't external. It wasn't through learning about these other modalities, going to these counselors, it was the internal part of me that I hadn't been honoring, that allowed me to heal, allowed God's presence for me to open my heart to receive the love. Because one of the things that I had was, you're not worthy of love, right? You're not worthy of all of God's love, all of this love. And it was this block that I had in my heart that I wasn't letting in, until this point where I got really sick, that I literally felt that, that it was that point. And there was various other things that I'd gone through, and like the belief systems and things that I was talking about before. And it was probably, I started feeling better probably a couple months after that. But it wasn't for, I think, the next year until I got completely better. It was a journey. I changed everything in my lifestyle, changed what I ate. I changed the people I was hanging around with. I changed how I thought. I changed even to the point of like the soap I was using. It was literally, I was desperate. I tried everything and changed my diet. Like, I literally changed everything in my quest to get better. So yeah, to answer your question, it wasn't an overnight thing. It was a journey that I went on, that I go through. It's like the layers of the onion, and peeling them back and healing, one thing at a time, one step at a time. And through that journey, God revealed, this is the first priority, then this one, then this one, then this one. And that's the strategy I use right now with clients, that, when we work together. And I found this before, sometimes you'd heal things, you thought things were healed, but then they would come back. I don't know if anybody's recognized that before, where you work on something and like, yeah, it's gone. And then like 2 weeks later, it comes back. You're like, oh, it's not gone. There's another layer there that we need to go deeper with. But yeah, I guess that's kind of the, long story short with that. What was the second question again? Can you repeat your second question again?
If you could just touch on that instantaneous. what state are you in? Like, how does it feel to you when you recognize that instantaneous healing that happens?
Yeah, so it's like a sense of like how do I feel when I'm going? So it's like a sense of peace. Is
Yeah.
what I felt is like this immense amount of peace and comfort, and like this, I literally felt like there was a heavy blanket that was over top of me prior to this, and it was literally like this massive weight that was lifted off, and just this ushering in of like tremendous amount of unconditional love and peace and just lightness was kind of the experience that I felt, like the instantaneous in that moment when I had this vision towards, you know, getting better. And once I did, you know, did the work and showed up and moved towards that.
Yeah. I love that
Thank
story.
you so much, Nadine. I really appreciate your sharing, you know, what you've been through and just showing us, you know, your path and your journey and being vulnerable. And I know there's people who are listening who needed to hear that. And I think it's amazing that not only have you come through on the other side of that, but you're here with gifts to share with us all, going through everything you have. And I think it's amazing, and I acknowledge you for, you know, just contributing to us all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me here today. It's been an honor.
Oh, we're so excited to have you. So I want to thank Nadine again, and also thank you all who are tuning in. I would love to invite you. We encourage and invite you to join us on the stage. If you have a story, a gift, a poem, a passion, we invite you to be on the stage. This is your place to be you, like you, truly you, not the small idea that's hiding and trying to survive. The you that is just in you, that is, the world is just better off because you're showing up for your purpose, for your true beauty. You have a unique gift, a unique talent, passion that contributes to us all, and we want to hear your story, your experience. So please join us. You go to onedaymvmt.org/virtual stage sign up. We would always love to have you. This is an open place. You know, this is a place you will be accepted. And we're so appreciative of you joining us now. And our mission here at One Day is bringing you and I and communities together in joyous celebration, unifying humanity in our diversity to create a better world for us all. So I'm going to introduce our second guest. We have Tim. Tim, how are you doing? So glad you're here. Tim Murphy is hilarious. I'll let him speak for himself, but thank you for joining us, Tim.
Thanks for having me, Abram. Matthew, glad to be here.
Oh, we're so happy to have you, and I'm just going to let you have at it, Tim. The stage is yours.
All right. As you already know, my name's Tim. I'm an alcoholic. I grew up in a small town in Kentucky to where, you know, there's a church on every corner, and the roadblocks, the traffic jams in the town was when a tractor pulled out in the road and 3 cars were blocked up. Like every other small town, has a town drunk. It just turns out that town drunk was my dad. Now, both my parents were severe alcoholics, and I was actually raised by my grandmother. Me and my 2 brothers, and I'm the youngest of 3, was raised by my grandmother, but my dad lived in the house. The bad thing about that was my dad was a violent drunk. He used to beat me and my brothers, threatened to kill us, pulled knives on us, backed us into corners, told us he was going to cut our ears off. He would also fire guns off in the house. That's how I learned to play connect a dot, was connecting the bullets and drawing pictures with that, the bullet holes in the wall. I got judged a lot because of who my dad was and what my last name was in a small town. Wasn't allowed to play at other people's houses, things like that. Life at the house was not good at all. But as much as I didn't like being at home, I didn't like going to school either. School wasn't that much different. In school, my bullies were the teachers. Like when I'd have trouble with problems or the homework or whatever, while the teacher would help the other students, I would ask for help. They'd just tell me, read the instructions. So what that was, they had my brothers before me. They made their decision on who I was and what kind of student I was going to be on them. They didn't give me a chance to be an individual person. One day in class, the assistant principal was standing in for the teacher and was calling roll, got to my name, called it out, didn't skip a beat. I wasn't even allowed to answer and said, "You'll not make it," and moved on down the road and kept on going. Another one of my bullies was my uncle. Came over one time. He had sold some property, had a check, passed it out to me and my brothers, and told us we'll never see that much money in our lives. Later on, I found out he did that on purpose, just to be mean. So that was my childhood years. I joined the military later on. I joined the military when I was 25 years old. Okay, so by the time I graduated high school, I was depressed, alcoholic, with suicidal thoughts. So I go into the military at a later age. One thing about the military, I was able to excel at it because I was judged on me and who I was and what I did, not my last name and who my dad was, but I was kind of judged on my accent. So I'm sure y'all can guess how that went for me. One of the things, a turning point in my life on one issue was going to some leadership schools in the Air Force. Each school, we had to give 3 speeches. Now, at that time, I couldn't give a silent prayer in a phone booth. So my first speech, I whispered, nobody could hear me, not even the first row. Second speech, I talked a little bit louder, at least the guy sitting right in front of me could hear me. The third speech, I just looked at the ceiling and started hollering. When I got finished, the whole class laughed. Naturally, they weren't laughing with me, they was laughing at me, but I didn't care. I got a response for something I'd never felt before. And that was a changing point in my life to where I started cultivating humor and things like that. Well, as a coping mechanism, but again, later on, it has come in to serve me pretty good. So during my military years, I got married. My first marriage lasted a year. So you can see I'm good at some of these things. So the lady I married there, she faked break-ins at the house, and people were threatening to kill her, and almost got kicked out of the military. One of the things about that, after my first 4 years, I wasn't going to stay in, but then I couldn't get a job to getting out, so that was like paycheck, no paycheck. So I stayed, and once I made my mind up that the military was my career, it became easy after that. So my second marriage, that lasted 19 years. The lady I married there is somewhat famous, and y'all may know her or heard of her. Her name's Dream Crusher. Dream Crusher ran our bank account like a charitable organization. She donated to Walmart and Joann Fabrics. Matter of fact, we was at Joann Fabrics one day. Manager said, "Sorry, folks, we're out of inventory." I said, "Don't worry, I'll go home and get you a couple of loads." So that's the way that marriage went there. Financially broke 3 times during that. The last time I came back from my second deployment, I had my retirement home was already foreclosed on and gone. The marital house that we were living in was in the process of being foreclosed on. The vehicle was not being paid. My son was just a shell of a kid, needed clothes, needed shoes. That marriage ended. Me and my son moved to my next duty assignment with 1 paycheck in my pocket. Once I got set up there, then everything started rolling in. All the stuff that had been thrown away and ignored, I started getting them, IRS bills, all that stuff, threatening to confiscate everything. So I spent the next 5 years cleaning up that financial disaster. So then I retire. So let's do an inventory right now at retirement age. If when I got out of the military, I'm depressed. I'm an alcoholic. Now let's sprinkle in some PTSD. I was Mr. Sunshine. ready to go, spread joy any place I went. I also had some anger issues, if you can imagine that. So I moved. Me and my son set up house. We're doing okay. For the first time, basically, in my life, I don't mind coming home. It's just me and my son, not arguing about anything. Nothing's happening. So life is somewhat good, except for being a raging alcoholic with anger issues and PTSD. So one night, police officers show up at the house. My son has been involved in some crimes. So what a way to get introduced to your neighbors in your neighborhood by having police officers all around. Your vehicles get towed off, get confiscated because they was used in the crime. The only mode of transportation I have at the end of that was a motorcycle. So we're coming out the end of summer, getting ready to go into winter here in Colorado at 7,000 feet, so it's a little cold. So I'm riding that motorcycle. A friend of mine has pity on me and loans me his car. So I'm driving a borrowed car, bar hopping, still drinking, driving. One night, I'm closing the bar down as usual. I'm coming home. I black out as usual, and I wreck the car. Almost killed myself, totaled the car. I had to pay the guy back for the car, naturally. But then again, that was a turning point in my life right there, too. My son's in prison. I'm basically his only support system that he's got. And I'm thinking, if something happens to me, who's going to take care of him and be his support and give him things from the outside? So that was a changing point right there for me. So I'm still not debt free. I'm still working on that. So finally, I get that done, get debt free, get my credit kind of straightened out, qualify for a loan, buy a house. I'm sitting in the house one day and I'm thinking back over my life. And by this time, I've been sober 4 years by this time. And I think how did I do that was by forgiveness of myself, people I thought that had wronged me, my uncle, my teachers, other people. Give them forgiveness to them. Some of them had passed away. Believe it or not, yes, I did talk to the dead. They didn't talk back because there's too many voices in my head, but I did talk to them, straighten things out. The living people that I could talk to, asked forgiveness from them, and told the ones that I thought had wronged me that I forgive them. Sometimes that wasn't a good conversation, as you can imagine, but it was forgiveness and gratitude is how I overcome a lot of that and how I got sober. And so here I sit sober. My finances are straightened out. My credit is repaired. I'm in a house that I own. I'm happy with who I am, where I live. And I got my PTSD at bay. I got my anger issues at bay. I got my depression at bay. None of it's cured, but it's manageable enough to where I'm good with who I am and where I'm at. And my hopes is if anybody is listening today, hopefully, you can see that you can overcome these things. You may need a support system. AA wasn't for me, but it can help other people out. But find a support system, gratitude, and forgiveness. Over to you, Abram and Matthew.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Tim. It's incredible that all you've been through, that you're looking back at all that, and I want to. There's so much in this story that I think resonates with so many people, and I feel everyone has some version of a struggle like that. And I think I wanted to just talk to you about forgiveness and gratitude, because those seemed like those have been powerful tools in my life. When did you I want to talk to you about forgiveness, but also about the opposite of resentment. Like, when did you discover resentment wasn't the path? Like, where did you shift from resentment to forgiveness? What did that take?
These are lessons I've had to learn over and over again in my life. When I joined the military, I kind of did it, but not fully and not genuinely, to be truthful with you. When that came to me, I'd already been sober a few years, had to sit back, and that's what I did. I just took accountability of what I'd been through, just that story I'd given you there, and where I was sitting at that particular time. And that was basically the first time I was genuine about the forgiveness of myself and others. And like I said, I did talk to people that was dead that I thought had done me wrong. And I know that sounds odd, but I did do that. But it was at that moment of just sitting there and taking accountability and just being thankful for where I was, being alive, and having what I've got.
Yeah, that's beautiful that you found that in yourself. You know, it's not easy. You know, yeah, sometimes we have to hit rock bottom before we can see there's a way out. You know, and resentment is one of the best definitions of resentment I've ever that stuck with me. Is it's resentment is you're drinking poison and waiting for somebody else, the other person, to die, and it's like resentment is something that is so opposite to what we feel in the time we're feeling it. It's so counter. It resentment feeds resentment, and it's like it's for me. I've had when I faced my resentment, it was always what I realized that it was what I was holding on to, not what they did. It was the story I told myself and what I was holding on to. When I could find peace with that, then I was able to find forgiveness, and all that pain, that anger, and that boiled up resentment kind of shifted into forgiveness. So I think that's amazing, and it's beautiful that you found that tool.
It's kind of like the road rage I used to have. Somebody might cut me off, never know what they've done. I tell them they're number one, and give some few choice words, and that would affect me for almost the better half of my first part of my day. They went on about their business, never knowing anything was wrong and not affected. But that was kind of a wake up call too, about how I'm letting somebody else take control of my life when all I need to do is just let them go on about their business and then go on about my business and not worry about it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one that really resonates with me. There was something else you pointed to in there. Like, it breaks my heart that this is not an uncommon story, right? Like, your story is unique to you, but at the same time, there's so many people that are going through similar issues, like having similar pain. And part of that seems to come from this world that we're born into. Like, we're born into a narrative that's already existing, and we grow up being told what the world is, not being invited to discover what it is for ourselves. And so we grow up literally being told to be something we're not. And it's not anyone's fault as far as I can tell. Like, most people don't even recognize they're doing this, right? Like, most parents have no earthly idea that they're telling their kids to be something they're not. But it's that recognition of, just like the resentment, is like that recognition of how painful the experience actually is that often seems to be the wake-up call. And I feel like there's a trap that a lot of people get stuck in. I know I got stuck in it in particular, of, okay, this sucks, but what's the alternative? And this may seem like a kind of out there question, and you may not have an answer to it right now. But what would be the alternative for you? Like, if you were able to either do it all over again or raise another kid another way, what alternative would you present to them to invite them to be themselves and not something they're not?
Right. It's funny you asked that about the kids, because I I'm all the time telling mine, I'd love to meet who raised you because they did a good job with you. It may sound odd with having a kid in prison, but things happen, but I am proud of him. I do have a daughter also that is doing very well for herself. I'm very proud of her. But with kids that are growing up in the same environment that I came out of, look for somebody that you can trust, police officer, clergy, somebody, and go and talk to them. If I could raise my kids over again, I lied to myself thinking since I don't keep alcohol in the house, I'm not the same as my dad. But that didn't make a difference. I was still drunk in the house. And but I did keep that in mind of how my dad acted. And so since I wasn't having convulsions and seizures and going into DTs, I wasn't the same. But then after I sobered up and looked back on all of it and talked to my kids, is like, I was, but it would just be look for something different, look to break that chain. Any parent that's going through it right now, find a trusted confidant, speak to them, get advice. Again, even as a grown-up, go to a clergy, go to somebody you can trust, go to a police officer. That may sound odd in this day and age, but there are some good ones out there.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. One of the reasons that I have found to really keep doing the virtual stage is to bring awareness to not only the world suffering, but like individual suffering. And I really appreciate when anyone can come on here and share the story like you have, because it is like Abram was saying earlier, like just hearing that we're not alone in this is often the thing that can give us the strength to move on, to go and find someone, to go and to reach out to someone. And I would just like to put that invitation out there to anyone who's watching right now. Like if you're in a place like that, if there's no one around you that you feel like you can trust, reach out here. Like come share your story on the stage. Come talk to us. Like we would love to hear your story. We would love to actually speak to you. We don't have a lot of people yet right now. It's just mostly me and Abram. But I'm open and I'm here, and I will do my best to be that non-judgmental space to just hear what's going on. And Tim, like, if there's anything else you'd like to say, we're going to bring Nadene back on here in just a minute and let you guys have a little bit of interaction, just kind of like share your experiences with each other's shares. But if there's anything you'd like to say before we bring Nadene back on, now's the time.
Yeah, sir. One thing there, Matthew, is echo the what you put out. If anybody's going through the same thing, contact you guys. One of the things I found out going through my stuff and everything, if somebody's not been through the same stuff, it is kind of hard to relate. I'm open to talk to anybody. You guys have my permission to hand my information out. If anybody contacts you and wants to talk, I'm available.
Yeah, we'll put that information up and the video description after the broadcast ends today, so that anyone watching will have both Nadene and Tim's information. And yes, now Abram, feel like bringing Nadene back on.
Yeah, let's bring her in.
Welcome back.
Hello, Nadene.
So, real quick, is there anything you would like to say? Like just Nadene, watching the shares and what's going on right now, is there anything that's come to mind that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think thank you, Tim, for sharing your story. That was absolutely incredible and just extremely inspiring to hear your journey and how you've overcome that. I honor you and I admire you for the courage to be here today to talk about your story. I know that's not to do that. I work with lots of people in what I do every day who've gone through similar experiences. So I know the true power in stepping forward to help others with that. And just really wanted to tell everybody, again, back to sharing, speaking from the heart, being able to be vulnerable in all of your interactions that you have with others, is the sheer importance in opening your heart to others to just really be yourself and allow that safe place sometimes just to listen to somebody else share their story or share something they're struggling with. Sometimes that's all they need is a listening ear, and just to be that person, for others.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, Nadine. I think on the note of sharing, I think there's something it's something that's very powerful in being willing to be vulnerable. Like for me, it seems counterintuitive, but the most strong I've ever experienced is when I've shared my weakest, me being at my weakest. And it's so counterintuitive, but there's so much power in it. Like I see that in both of the stories that you shared. It's just like overcoming that story that we're born into, as Matthew was saying. We have this conditioned existence in the world, and we think we're supposed to be doing this. There's a way we're living like the Disney ending. It's like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and happily ever after. And then at some point, it's like something's off. Something doesn't feel right. There's something I'm not getting, and it's like most of our lives, I feel like, we'll avoid that fear to even confront it, to look at that conversation within ourselves. And what amazes me is what opens up that you didn't expect from being vulnerable. Because there's things that, obviously we want to overcome our suffering and overcome our pain, but there's something on the other side of being vulnerable that opens up a whole new world that wasn't there before. And there's something beautiful to that. I felt inclined to put that out there.
Yeah, and I think too, it's like I just felt like I need to say this too, like our journey that we go on is all for a reason, right? There's always a reason behind everything that we go through in life. And I just look back, like if you would have asked me maybe just 5 years, especially 10 years, if this is what where I would have ended up in my life, I would have probably laughed, because it wouldn't have been anywhere near what I was thinking where I was going to be on my journey. So just allowing yourself to expect, to be open to wherever your journey leads you, and know that that's exactly where you're supposed to be. Whether you're going through struggles right now, whether you're out on the other side, whether you're still, back where I was, know that there's hope, and that you can get to the other side. And the importance of breaking chains. I know Tim mentioned this, and Abram, and that's you, but I think it's important about breaking the chains that we have, the multi-generational patterning that's passed down from one generation to the next, and breaking those chains once and for all, and allowing you to be set free, allowing freedom for not only your life, but all the generations that come after you. It's super important and very, very powerful once you step into that and honor those things and recognize them, bring awareness to them, and then just gently and lovingly let them go and let them free.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does really feel like this is one of those times on the planet where a lot of those chains are being broken. And, in a lot of ways, I am grateful for everything that's happening now. As crazy as it is, and as painful as it is, especially for the people who are really stuck in, the people who have been affected by COVID or have had loved ones that have been affected by COVID, and the Black Lives Matter movement, and everything that's happening, not just in the USA, but in the world too. Like the whole economic system that we have that has been created, that has been perpetuating suffering in a lot of ways. And that's not to say the economic system is awful. It is what it is. But it has been rather cruel to a lot of people, except for those few at the very top of the system. And it does seem like a lot of people are waking up to it because of what's happening right now. And so that I'm really grateful for, that we are breaking those multi-generation chains. There's one last question that we ask all of our guests, and Abram, I'll let you jump in, explain, and
Yeah. Well, so our tagline for our movement is "One day is today," but we love to ask people what one day means to them, because the term "one day" is often used as this future experience. Like, one day I'll be happy. One day we'll have this. One day I'll have that. One day I'll get to this. In essence, we're avoiding responsibility for the only moment there ever really truly is right now. And I would just want to ask both of you, what does one day mean to you? And let's start I'll start with you, Tim. What does one day mean?
All right, that's a big question. I'm not ready to answer right now, but let's give it a stab. I never thought I'd be to this one day right here. So one day to me means being further than what I've ever thought in my life I'd be, and being in a spot that I never thought I would be in. And one day I want to help other people.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And how about, same question to you, Nadine? What does one day mean to you?
Wow, that's a loaded question. There's so much you could say on that. I was just thinking about what are, a couple things I wanted to say on that. And I think for me, and this goes back to my grandfather who lived to be 98 years old, and my great grandfather who lived to be 106 years old. And I know there's certain things that they taught me. My one grandfather who was 106, he basically would write letters to inspire others. He would write people in jail to bring hope and faith to their lives. But one thing I learned from him, he passed away when I was 5 years old. So I had the opportunity to spend most of my summers with him, was to live your life with, one day, starting today, living your life with no regrets and not having any regrets with everything that you go through and every moment, every day, each and every day, just living whatever that is, your relationships with others, what you say, what you do, just living from your heart with no regrets. And yeah, looking back on your life, at the end of on your deathbed, that I lived my life from my heart, and I lived my life. I didn't live my life for what anybody else wanted for me. I lived it, based on what I believed was important and with no regrets.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that, Nadine. And I'm really so grateful to have both of you today on this. This has been an awesome conversation, and I really appreciate and acknowledge you both just for being here to share with us and just to contribute your story, and you're sharing your story for every person. There's 5,000 other people that's going to affect, and I think it's just humbling, and I'm so grateful to have both of you. So just thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you'll both come back and share some more soon. Sound good?
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tim and Nadine, and thank you to all of our lovely viewers for hanging out with us. This is an interesting time in humanity, but there's so much, as Matthew was saying earlier, there's so much happening in the world, but there's so much collateral beauty. There's so many openings for just beauty and opportunity where humans can connect, like truly connect, not like a superficial connection, like a real sharing of just human spirit, of just recognizing I and you, we're both humans, and we can do great things together when we actually show up to ourselves. But it's not possible with you guys all viewing and sharing with us. So again, we invite you and to share with us on this stage, to just be part of this movement, contribute your unique talent, your unique genius, your passion, your gifts. It is a gift. You are a gift. And we want to experience that because you have something that we don't. And you can do things. There's a Mother Teresa quote: "You can do things I cannot. I can do things you cannot." together we can do great things. And that's true for every single person. And this is an open invitation, and you are welcome here. And we are so happy to just have this space for you to do that. No judgment zone. This is an accepted space where we hold this space in high integrity for you to be able to share yourself vulnerably and to be authentic. And that's what we're holding, that value high. And just thank you so much for joining us. I also like to share with you our vision. Our one-day vision is humanity rising in a connected world, with each person's unique contributions being valued and magnified through a higher level of collaboration, producing unprecedented new realms of possibility. That's what we're doing, one conversation at a time, one human connection at a time. But that's why we're here. That's the vision. This is the new era we are creating together. So I thank you. I honor you all. I love you. We'll see you on Thursday. We have some more amazing guests I'm really excited about. But thank you for joining us. We'll see you on Thursday. Everyone stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.